Okay, my friend.
You don't want the president.
Who's the president? Oh, yeah. Who's the president? Oh, we good. Yeah, I think that.
That's the from library.
Sabotage.
See, I saw you on my TV that they were watching you from the cabinet room.
Oh, you did?
The 10 strides, you were just in a sport.
No. The thing about it is that the vehicle ahead of me not moving. That's what I'm doing. And I am trying to move.
When I took over, you have to stop me. You got to have reasons.
So you're not telling me? I thought you might say.
That's why she didn't do it.
Walk and run. Oh my God.
On the mic itself.
Turn off the mic.
No.
It's not that time, huh? Let me get to the
Yeah.
doesn't plug it for now.
Next thing is where you should be. We're using a leaf.
This morning, the parade is under the command of Superintendent Elvis Thomas. There are 32 persons on the platoon, with one sergeant. Sergeant 51 Lirish is the parade sergeant. What we witnessed earlier was Sergeant Lirish handing over the parade to the parade commander in preparation for the arrival of the police commissioner. We also have this morning the members of the Royal Central Police Force Band under the command of Acting ASP Ronald Fenelor. The band, as we speak, is at his position and awaiting the arrival of the Prime Minister.
Yes, St. Lucia, welcome again to the broadcast. We are in a very scenic and historic location, Le Toc, as most St. Lucians know, and the Police Training School Academy plays a very, very significant role, Mr. Seeley, in the development of police officers.
Most definitely.
To use a military term, this is where the breaking down, shall we say, happens. That is the process from being transformed from a civilian to a police man or woman. And Mr. Seeley can give us some historical background on the area and what the recruits are, down to go and experience here at the training school before they become the servicemen and women that the country relies on for protection of life and property.
Persons who were selected to join the Royal Central Police Force would come here to the police training school for the training. The training is usually 6 months duration, and it entails drills, physical exercise, classwork, and so on and so forth. We would recognize too that until the early 90s, the police officers traveled to Barbados to be trained as police officers at the Sewell Police Academy run by the police force in Barbados. And our first instructor at the police training school locally was Mr. Francis Nelson, who later became Commissioner of Police here in St. Lucia.
That is wonderful. Thank you for that. We definitely appreciate the contribution of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. And even now, as the police force hosts the military tattoo here at the Police Force Academy, they are out on duty. And the police has issued firm reminders to the public, Mr. Seeley, that the protocols are still on, mass crowd events are still being restricted at this time, and they have made the appeal for safety on the roads, etc., hoping that everyone has a safe and happy Independence 43 under the theme Dover Assam, celebrating our people. And we would like to say special good morning to all the Independence babies. 43 years of Independence babies, persons born on February 22nd. Happy birthday to you, and we wish you well. We do hope that independence finds you hale and hearty. And I think that later in the week we might hear the announcement of some more independence babies being born.
Yes.
We also had the highlighting of some of the island scholars over the 43 years of independence. The Ministry of Education prepared a lovely production on this, and I think it can be viewed on YouTube. And now we see the arrival of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Philippe Joseph Pierre. Definitely this day a significant one for him, Mr. Silly, as this is the first Independence Parade under his prime ministership.
Oh yes, remarkable. I could just imagine what he is feeling, and right now having been the inspection officer for that parade.
Certainly he is presiding over the ceremony today, and he has apologized for the low-key events and promised that, pandemic allowing, we will have a grand celebration next year.
Yes.
Next year we will be marking Independence 44. We now stand for the national anthem for those. Well,
We just witnessed the arrival of the Honorable Prime Minister, and what is taking place now is the parade commander reports to the Prime Minister, informing him of the number of persons on parade this morning, and afterwards he will be inviting the Prime Minister to inspect the platoon.
Mr. Seeley, we must acknowledge the other platoons, other organizations who would have normally been here, been participants in the Independence Parade, Borderley Correctional Facility,
Yes,
the
and so on.
the fire service, SLASPA, or we would have also the uniform groups, Pathfinders and St. John's Ambulance, the St. Lucia Cadet Corps. All of those would have formed part of what we normally know to be the Independence Parade.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not on parade today because of the COVID-19 protocols. But the inspection is well on its way. The Prime Minister is expecting the detachment of police officers.
Many persons have missed the renditions and performances of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, Mr. Seeley. And I think that today they're in for a treat to hear them and see them in action once again. And the band platoon, we are told that the band platoon comprises of 32 officers, and the band shall celebrate its 75th year of existence on the 18th of June 2022. And if I remember correctly, Mr. Seeley, you have a long relationship. You've had a long relationship with the Royal St. Lucia Police Band.
Yes.
So maybe you can share with us
Yes, the band was formed in 1947 on the 18th of June. At the time the band was formed, there were only 6 members of the band who were trained at the time. and they were under the instruction of Sergeant Nathaniel Griffith from Barbados. Just to mention that most of the music that is being played here today would be local, in view of the fact that it is our independence celebration. Most of the music played by the band today would be strictly St. Lucian.
Yes, well recognized and well loved renditions by St. Lucians. During the course of the week, there were already a number of activities to mark the independence celebrations. Among those, we
shall
had
now have the trooping of the band.
ecumenical service, and that was on Friday 18th. Under the theme, a nous venir ensemble pour glorifier, adorer, célébrer body. So we see that the Creole, Mr. City, is playing a significant role in our national event, and at some point, I know that you will engage our Creole viewers and listeners on what is happening here today.
Okay, at this time, what's happening is the band is trooping. That is the police band's way of paying compliments to the inspecting officer. They march down in slow time, and march back up in quick time. Like I indicated earlier on, most of the music that you will hear coming out from the band today will be strictly local music. What is being played there is a song called Unity, arranged by our former director of music, Rudolph Charles.
I guess every button is shining at this point in time. The Prime Minister is now
March pass of the band. We shall now have the march past in slow and quick time.
Admiral Charles, PC 884, Ryan Les Flores, PC 328, and Naj Rosary, PC 521. Flank number 3, VCS RP 100, and Neil Matre, PC 275, and Kimfer Smith, PC 347.
Moving on to flank number 4, we would like to highlight IP Harrow, Police Constable 350. He's currently attached to the Police Marine Unit and has been a police officer for 3 years. His last attachment was at the Traffic Department. We have Shakib Daniel, PC 249. Attached to the Criminal Investigations Department and has been a police officer for 2 years. Casey Hippolyte, PC 346, is a close protection officer and has been a police officer for 10 years. He is attached to the police headquarters. He has worked at Special Services Unit and Police Marine Unit, and we celebrate them all, and we applaud the spirit of resilience. In fact, overall, Mr. C, the police's challenges seem to have increased throughout the pandemic, but they seem to have been very, very resilient.
What we just witnessed is the parade marching now in quick time, and paying compliments again to the inspecting officer, who is the Honorable Prime Minister. I also wish to add that the platoon this morning have been rehearsing for the past 2 weeks, from 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. for the past 2 weeks. And there's no doubt in my mind that they have mastered the drill movements, and they are very, very synchronized here this morning, as we can see on the parade.
Also on the Independence agenda of activities was the renaming of the Entrepot Human Resource Development Center to the Romanus Lancico Human Resource Development Center, presided over by the Prime Minister. And this triggered Mr. Sealy many pleasant memories and reflection on the life and times of the late Romanus Lancico. Not only a politician, I would say, but actually one of the most successful community mobilizers in his time. May he continue to rest in perfect peace.
I think it was a wonderful gesture by the Honorable Prime Minister to rename the Entrepot Human Resource Center to the Romanus Lancico Center. As far as I can recall, Mr. Lancico represented the East Castries constituency. We have just seen the Honorable Prime Minister step off the podium and is being escorted to his seat, where we will be viewing a further display by the number 1 detachment.
The Honorable Prime Minister is also carded to deliver his independence message via the national television network.
Please take your seats.
After the live coverage of the military
Prime Minister,
taking place.
the Honorable Philippe J. Pierre, Honorable Chief Justice Dame Janice M. Pereira, President of the Senate, Honorable Stanley Felix, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Claudius Francis, members of the Cabinet, Attorney General, Mr. Leslie Mondesi, Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Alan M. Chastanet, ambassadors to St. Lucia, and heads of regional and international organizations with diplomatic status, resident ambassadors of St. Lucia, Cabinet Secretary and co-chair of the Independence Committee, permanent secretaries, Commissioner of Police, Chairman of the Public Service Commission, Mayor of Castries and City Council, Her Worship Geraldine Lendor Gabriel, Deputy Permanent Secretaries, Chief of Fire Service, Director of Bodley Correctional Facility, Deputy Commissioners, Assistant Commissioners, gazetted ranks and other ranks of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, heads of private sector agencies, heads and managers of non-profit organizations, President of the National Youth Council, other invited guests, members of the media, I bid you a good morning and welcome to the 43rd Independence Anniversary, Independence Parade, and Military Tattoo at the Police Force Academy. We shall now have the announcement of Independence Awards. We shall now move on with the rest of today's ceremony. Okay. Waited a while there.
His Excellency, the Acting Governor General, as Chancellor of the Order of St. Lucia, on the advice of the Prime Minister, has been pleased to make the following appointments to the Order of St. Lucia in respect of Independence Day 2022. Knight Commander of the Order of St. Lucia, Honorable George Theophilus, for exceptional and outstanding service of national importance to St. Lucia. Calix George, for exceptional and outstanding service of national importance to St. Lucia. St. Lucia Cross, Dr. Didicus Jules, for distinguished service in the field of education, public, private, and civic development, locally and regionally. Professor Hazel Simmons MacDonald, for distinguished service in the field of education, linguistics, locally and regionally. Luther Rinaldo Francois, for distinguished service in the field of arts and culture, music. St. Lucia Medal of Honor Gold, Dr. Cato Thomas Lawrenson, for eminent service rendered in the field of medicine, regenerative engineering, and life sciences internationally. Clarence Rambali, for eminent service in the field of agriculture, national development, and philanthropy. Lilia Harak Singh, for eminent service rendered in the field of youth and community development, public health, and philanthropy. St. Lucia Medal of Honor, Silver, Dr. Morala Joseph Jabatis, for eminent service rendered in the field of education, administration, research, locally and regionally, and community and youth development. Elizabeth Worrell Setange, for eminent service rendered in the field of education. Cassius Elias, for eminent service rendered in the field of agriculture and community development. St. Lucia Medal of Merit Gold, Protas Ogis, for long and meritorious service in the field of arts, music. John Sherabin, for long and meritorious service in the field of arts and culture. Richard Anthony Wayne Whitfield, for long and meritorious service in the field of arts, broadcasting. St. Lucia Medal of Merit, Silver, Esther Salterbus Bryce, for long and meritorious service in the field of philanthropy and community development. Patricia Herman, for long and meritorious service in the field of education and community development. St. Lucia Le Piton Medal Gold, Tekla de Turville, for having performed long and meritorious service in the field of business, education and sports, netball. Gilbert John Philippe Jean-François, for long and meritorious service in the field of education and youth development. Yves Renard, for long and meritorious service in the field of community development. St. Lucia Le Piton Medal Silver, Francilia Monica de Turville, for having performed long and meritorious service in the field of community development and philanthropy. Francis Suraj, for long and meritorious service in the field of education. St. Lucia Le Piton Medal Bronze, Mariana George, for having performed long and meritorious service in the field of education and community development. Bernadette Sonny, for having performed long and meritorious service in the field of education and community development. Felix Xavier, for having performed long and meritorious service in the promotion of public service and in the field of community development and youth development, martial arts. National Service Cross, Andre Collymore, for rendering long and devoted service beneficial to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the government and people of St. Lucia. National Service Medal, Ainsworth Aaron Charlemagne, for outstanding and meritorious service to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the government and people of St. Lucia. Lucius George Lake, for outstanding and meritorious service to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the government and people of St. Lucia. Ruel Nathan Maynard Hyacinth, for outstanding and meritorious service to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the government and people of St. Lucia. Elphage Williams, for outstanding and meritorious service to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the government and people of St. Lucia. The Public Services Long Service Award. His Excellency, the Acting Governor, has been pleased to award the Public Services Long Service Medal in respect of Independence Day 2022 to the following persons. St. Lucia Public Service, Victor Poyot and Remiz Anthony. St. Lucia Teaching Service, Norma Mary Bartlett Maynard, Catherine Jabatis. The Royal St. Lucia Police Force, Inspector of Police Licenta Daisy Dolor, Superintendent of Police Patrick Scholar. St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority Ports Police, Corporal Rudy Ogis, Constable Anthony Solomon. St. Lucia Fire and Emergency Services, Station Officer Elvin Saint-Gis, Assistant Divisional Officer Crescent Elgar George. St. Lucia Prison Services, Borderley Correctional Facility, Correctional Officer 2, Josephat Donat, Correctional Officer 1, Pius Octave. Congratulations to all the honorees.
Thank you, Mr. Jerry George. We shall now have the military tattoo by the police platoon and police band.
Congratulations, one and all of the recipients and honorees. We would like to definitely express special congratulations to the recipients hailing from the Department of Home Affairs and including the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and bodily, Mr. Seeley.
Yes, most definitely.
Much deserved recognition going out there.
Yes, congratulations in order to everyone who were awarded today. We look forward to the official presentation sometime in March, I suppose. We're about to witness a tattoo display by the armed detachment under the command of Superintendent Elvis Thomas.
Please stand for the national anthem. Could I have your seats?
Wow, 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 it's all I can say, St. Lucia. We have just witnessed the fancy drills and precision drills executed to perfection, Mr. Seeley. Impeccably executed.
It was a very, very fantastic display put on there by the men and women of the Royal Commercial Police Force Band and the Royal Commercial Police Force Detachment.
Very impressive the way they had the star formation, for example, and the fact that they shot at us in the most harmless way possible.
Yes.
Very, very stimulating, a very, very stimulating display by the special drill squad participating in the military tattoo here this morning, hosted by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force on the grounds of the Police Training School Academy. Reminding you that this is a live broadcast brought to you by the National Television Network and carried on all your favorite local channels.
I also wish to add that Sergeant 51 Lyrish.
We have come to the end of this year's Independence Parade and Military Tattoo. On behalf of our Prime Minister and Police Commissioner,
were
I'd
taught
like to thank all who made
by
it possible,
Sergeant 51
as this year's parade was hosted
Lyrish.
exclusively
Congratulations
by the Royal
to
St. Lucia
him.
Police
The
Force.
Most
job
definitely.
well done.
I wish to salute the other law enforcement agencies and organizations who would normally be part of this parade. We miss you. Happy 43rd Independence Day to the people, all the people in St. Lucia. Thank you.
And
Shall
now
be
we
served
bring
refreshments.
the curtains down on this live broadcast. Our proceedings here has come to a wonderful conclusion. We have certainly ended on a high note, Mr.
Very
Seeley.
high note, very high. The expectations were that just what we saw today, that is exactly what we expected. Nothing short.
Certainly expectations were met and surpassed.
Most definitely.
And I think that the Cabinet of Ministers were very impressed. The Prime
Impressed,
Minister, very impressed, as his first independence ceremony as Prime Minister goes down in the books.
Yes.
And in the books and documented as one with a difference. Nonetheless, there was no compromise on quality and delivery. And what a great showcase it was, and a great note on which to conclude here today, reminding all St. Lucians to please have a very safe independence, continue to observe the COVID-19 protocols, continue to be safe, and to celebrate within the law.
Yes, I'm very happy to be associated today to this 43rd anniversary of independence. The weather has been very kind to us today, and all the drills were down as expected. The music was beautiful, coming from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force Band under the directorship of ASP Ronald Fenelon. I think this too is his last independence parade, because he will soon be proceeded on pre-retirement leave as of May of this year. So I wish him well in his future endeavors, and thank him sincerely from the bottom of my heart for all the work that he has put down for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force Band.
Unfortunately, the parade will not be taken to the streets, as one would expect. And
I don't
this
see.
year, no, everything is contained here again because mass crowds cannot be encouraged at this time. So we look forward to next year, hoping that the COVID-19 numbers will continue trending downwards. I think if this continues and we are not hit by another wave, then we certainly can get back to the full pomp and ceremony and engage the public to a greater extent. But we must commend all those organizations, the schools who came out, the business places who came out, they participated in the National Colors Day, the other events that were hosted, even at the level of the churches, etc. We say hats off to you. We salute you for still adding some meaning to our independence. I also want to thank the GIS for all the hard work. And so we bring the curtains down. On behalf of Mr. Curtis Sealy and myself, Claudia Monalve, once again, happy Independence 43.
Yes, thank you, Claudia.